Okay, how are you doing today? Happy St. Patrick's Day. I'm the only one that didn't get the memo on green today. I apologize. All right, you ready for today? So, what do you know about silent unity? How many of you know that Unity has a prayer ministry that's been going on for about 140 years? Right? It started out as a group of individuals praying. People were coming to Myrtle Fillmore's kitchen table in the evening every night after work, after dinner, and she had her own healing, and she began to facilitate, to support the healing of others. Some people think, well, Unity is a teaching ministry, and it's true, we are, right? Some people say that it's a prayer ministry, and it's true, we are. But the foundation of Unity is as a healing ministry. And I want us to hold on to that image of how important it is that our roots and our background is as a healing ministry. How many of you have called Silent Unity? Few? Okay, so here's the number, 1-800-NOW-PRAY. I don't know what the numbers are for that, but you could figure it out, right? So here's your homework. You ready for your homework? Your homework is, if you've never called Silent Unity, this week I want you to call Silent Unity and ask them to pray with you. Even if you don't have an issue in your life, even if everything in your life is perfect and it's all just hunky and dory, I want you to call Silent Unity because I believe that it's helpful to have a relationship where we know that no matter what's going on in our life, we can pick up the phone and call people that will pray with us instantly. And you can tell them, well, I don't really have a need today. My minister just made me call you. Right? Because there's going to be a day when there is a need, and I want you to feel confident in calling and reaching out for prayer support. Does that make sense? Because what we have done, it's more likely that we will do it again. It's a human experience. What we haven't done often is difficult for us to gather the faith or the courage or to move through the discomfort of trying something for the very first time. So I want you to call them, and even if you have them pray for you or a family member, whatever it is, I want you to experience what it's like for you to call them. I mean, the chaplains are here every week after service to pray with you. If you're a member of this ministry, our chaplains call every member once a month to reach out to them. But I want you to have a way that when you need support at 3 o'clock in the morning, maybe instead of calling me, right, you would call 1-800-NOW-PRAY. Is that a deal? I want to share with you an article from April 1890 in the issue of Thought magazine, where Myrtle Fillmore, the co-founder of Unity, announced the opening of a new department at Unity called the Society of Silent Help. This is what she wrote. All over the land are persons yearning for truth, yet so dominated by the surrounding air that they find it almost impossible without a helping hand to come into harmony with this divine spirit, to open the way to those for help in overcoming the ills and troubles of the object of life. We have created the Society of Silent Help. The wonderful success of absent healing demonstrates that bodily presence is not necessary to those in spiritual harmony. Jesus said, where two or more gathered, there I am in the midst of them. For those of you who have experienced asking, understand and know that that's absolutely true. Hence, this little band in this city have agreed to meet in silent soul communion every night at 10 p.m. For those who are in trouble or sickness or poverty or sincerely desire the help of the good Father, whoever will may join the society, with the only requirement being that members shall sit in quiet in a retired place, if possible, at 10 o'clock every night and hold in silent thought for not less than 15 minutes the words that shall be given each month by the editor of the department. The difference in the solar time between widespread separate places will not materially interfere with the results, for we know that in spirit there is neither time nor space. Hence, each member should sit at 10 o'clock p.m. their local time. The words that were given to be held in silent thought every night at 10 o'clock from April 15th to May 15th, 1890 were these: God is all goodness, everywhere present. He is a loving Father, and I am his child, and have all the attributes of life, love, truth, and intelligence. In him is all health, strength, wisdom, and harmony. And his child, as his child, all these become mine through the recognition of truth that's within us all. This is exactly what each member of the society did. They became quiet and meditated on the idea of God until that idea became the living reality in their minds. This is from the History of Unity. Him and the living presence in themselves. And they gained a sense of oneness with him, and they affirmed that goodness, and it was being brought forth in their minds and bodies and affairs, and they made these affirmations for everyone. They made it for others who asked them for special prayers. If anyone during the day asked one of these little band to pray with them, they spoke the word and the name and declared the spiritual truth. That is, they affirmed their oneness with God in health, love, wisdom, and harmony. I love that, right? And I love the spiritual power, right? Because over and over again, I want you to see that that's where we come from, that our spiritual legacy is this deep spiritual work. In Unity, that level of spiritual work was called the silence. And the silence is that state where you know that you're having a direct experience of God that is beyond word, it's beyond thought. It is that direct experience of the divine. And in Unity, that's what, at Silent Unity or the Silent Society of Help, that was the work, is to do our inner work so that we could get to that level within ourselves where we knew our oneness with God, and the noise, the confusion, the loudness of our thoughts ceased into the silence that was all around us. Myrtle Fillmore said this: in a period of quiet and rest each day is our opportunity to establish ourselves at the center of our being, the one place where the supply of life and substance is inexhaustible. God is eternal life that we make into living. And I want you to hear that line, because I think that's the fundamental of what Unity understands, is that God is infinite life. God is infinite good. God is infinite source. God is infinite presence. But we make that into our lives. That each one of us in our own way is an expression of that infinite presence and power. And when we want to change something in my life, when we want a healing in our life, when we want to know greater abundance, greater love, greater joy, greater wisdom, it is us, as we turn to the silence, accessing that infinite reservoir of God's good and manifesting it in our life. Myrtle continues, each day you should have a period of stillness when the soul may gather and sustain power and restoring life. God gives freely. It is up to us to keep the receiving channels open, to keep attuned to the realities so that the intellect does not take over and among the limited ideas of the world. The manifest man must have the substance to come into the silence. We know we should not draw the strings of the instrument of spirit so tightly that the music of our soul cannot find expression. But this is what it means to be living in the world without withdrawing from it, to enter into the secret place of the Most High. Elaine McKinney, a Catholic nun and Zen master, said it this way: silence is the vehicle that takes us into the innermost center of our being, which is the place of all authentic practice. See, as we look at the history of unity, as we look at our own tradition, what I want you to see today is that we have had this tradition of inviting people to go deep within their soul to feel the presence of God, and that is where all true healing and transformation happens. You know, many times in our prayer life, we're praying to God out there to save us from ourselves, to save and fix the situation. And in Unity's practice, the real activity of prayer is to go deep enough within yourself until you unlock and release that infinite goodness of God that is within us all. Unity teaches Unity's 5-step healing process. And those of you that are familiar with Science of Mind will see that how similar it is to Unity's the Science of Mind's 5 steps of the treatment. In Unity, the first step is relaxation. You set aside time each day for prayer. Begin by quieting your mind, relaxing your body, and opening to the awareness of God. Take deep breaths, knowing that you're in the presence of God and that the presence of God is within you. Let go of all concerns and know that all is well. The second step is concentration. As you close your eyes and release any thoughts of the world around you, begin to think about God, about God's presence in your life. Focus your mind on that single thought or idea or scripture that resonates with you. Repeat that idea over and over, either silently or loud, until you become one with that thought. Meditation. Step 3. Allow this focused state of mind to move you into a deeper awareness of God. Be still and know that I am God. Be still as you connect with that divine presence within you. 4, realize from the depths of your being, know that you are one with God. This knowing is a realization that you're experiencing God's holy presence. It is silent soul communion. In this receptive state of mind and heart, listen to the inspiration of God and the answer to your prayer. 5, give thanks. Let gratitude be your heart's joyous response to the experience of communion with God and God's infinite goodness. Give thanks for the coming blessings, knowing that you have already received the goodness of God. You know, in Unity, we used to have an expression that said, take it to prayer. And the idea of take it to prayer wasn't that you were taking it to God out there, but that you were taking it deep within yourself, into your soul, and that you would actually do the inner work of experiencing your oneness with God and the abundance of God that is within you and all around you. You know, one of the things that Myrtle said when she had her healing of tuberculosis, and some of us know that she was at the final stages of her passing, of transitioning because of tuberculosis. And one of the things that she had to do to have a healing was to see herself differently. She had to move from seeing herself as broken or sickly or weak, and she had to begin to see herself in a new light. And in that inner light, she had to know the truth, right? Everybody, do you know what a Venn diagram is? A Venn diagram is when you take a circle, and this circle is going to represent your desires. Okay? The other side of this Venn diagram is going to represent God's good. Okay? Now, the sweet spot is right here. And that's where your desires are realized in the infinite goodness of God. And that is an internal activity that we go into where we actually go within until we can connect that desire with the infinite goodness of God. Now, some people will say, next week I'm going to talk about God's will. But what I want you to see is that when you take a desire and you connect with God's will for all of us is greater than we can imagine. So the answer is never no. The answer is look higher, look up, that there is greater good. But we have to do the inner work of taking our desires and laying them in that inner sanctuary of our heart and our soul where we actually experience the infiniteness of God. And that's not just a mental realization, it's actually a spiritual practice of seeing it rightly and moving from an image of yourself, of others, of the situation, from broken or less than to whole and complete and lacking in nothing. When we touch that place within our soul where the perfection of God lives within us, it is absolutely transformative. And for many of us, the next level of our prayer life isn't to pray to God to save us. It's to pray until we can feel the glory of God within us. And that requires spiritual practice. That requires, as Myrtle Fillmore said, 15 minutes a day of connecting with that divine source over and over again until we connect with the infinite goodness of God. And in unity, we call that the silence. The silence is when we know that we know that we know that we've been in the presence of God and that all things are working together for our highest good. In the silence, we know more. We absolutely have faith that it will happen, and we don't always know how it's going to happen, but in the silence, there's this incredible faith knowing that it will be done. This is from Charles and Cora Fillmore. Cora was Charles's second wife after Myrtle passed. So this is from the writings of Charles and Cora Fillmore. By quieting the mental man and passing through the discipline of intellectual silence. How many of you know that there's a discipline to intellectual silence? Right? How many of you have ever had the little monkey mind when you try to pray or meditate and there's just like, did I clean out the refrigerator or did I do the ironing or the monkey mind, right? The discipline of intellectual silence. Man arrives at the threshold of God's workshop, the threshold of being. As he passes into the inner chamber, he finds he is entering into the Holy of Holies, where it is noiseless, silently, a mighty work is going on, always going on, but where there is neither hammer nor axe nor tool of iron. God works in the stillness. As man comes into the presence of God with his prayers in the form of an affirmation of truth, holding the prayer steady in mind and consciously unifying his mind with the mind of God, he is aware only of the soundlessness of God's word as it weaves itself in and through the soul and body and consciousness, illuminating, redeeming, restoring him according to his faith and trust, according to his strength and the power to receive. This is quite different from an intellectual silence that does not know the way of spiritual unfoldment. In this spiritual silence, man's realization is established in his heart, and he has the assurance that his prayer is answered and that the law of demonstration will bring forth its fruits. Isn't that powerful? I think that is so powerful. And so this is your other homework assignment. This week, you ready? I want you to have, if you have a goal or a desire or a healing or a need or a situation, for this week, right? This week, I want you to take that and see if you can quiet your mind and touch the infinite reservoir of God's good within you. How many of you have ever prayed to God outside of you to save you from whatever's going on in your life? Right? And the realization is God is out there, Big Daddy God, here's my need, cut me some slack, give me a little juice, whatever it is, right? And there's nothing wrong with that prayer, but it's not always effective. The most effective way to transform your life is to take a desire and touch the infinite reservoir of God's good within you. And when you touch that, when you know that, when you've laid that on the altar of your soul, you know that it's done. You don't know how it's going to be done. You don't always understand the process that will unfold to allow your miracle or your blessing or the transformation to happen. But once you've touched that presence of God, once you've aligned your desire with the infinite source of God, you know that you know that you know that it's done. And as spiritual people who believe in the goodness of God, I want to challenge us today to say, how deeply do you know God? Do you know the glory of God that's within you? Have you touched that infinite reservoir of God's good that is waiting to be unleashed in your life? That anytime you take a prayer or a desire or a goal and you take it and you place it in the Holy of Holies, what we know is that it will be done. Will you pray with me? To take a deep breath. And today we know the truth, that we are not separate from our Creator, but we are the living expressions of the divine. And today we go forth with a spirit of joy and peace and love to lay hold of the infinite reservoir of God's good and manifest it in our lives. So we say, thank you, God. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. And so it is. Amen. I invite you to take a deep breath as we move into this time of prayer and meditation. To feel the presence of God that is within you and all around you. And within your soul is the infiniteness of God. Within your soul is God's infinite spirit. That whatever the need, whatever the challenge, whatever the opportunity may be, God's infinite source is within us all. So today we turn within to feel the presence and power of God that's within and around each one of us. God in me is infinite good. God in me is infinite good. And allow these words just to wash through you. God in me is infinite good. That there is no lack in God. Nothing is missing. In God, nothing is wrong. That everything is flowing with the perfection of God, with divine order. So we move the focus of our attention within to feel the glory of God within us. The perfection of God is within me. The perfection of God is within me. We let go of any image that we are broken, that we are less than, that we were created in the perfection of God. We were created in God's image and in God's likeness. So we dwell on that idea that the perfection of God is within me. The perfection of God is within me. So we move into this time of silence that we may feel the perfection of God within each one of us. Perfection of God is within me. Today we allow that spiritual idea to roll out into every area of our lives. That if the perfection of God is within me, then every aspect of my life is expressing the perfection of God. Every aspect of our lives is aligning with that perfection. That we are living, moving expressions of the perfection of God. We let go of all limited visions and ideas of ourselves and others. And we hold to this spiritual truth today, that the perfection of God is within me. In the name and through the power of the living Christ, we give thanks. And so it is. Amen.